The train screeched to a halt between stations, lights flickering like a warning, and Ethan Cole felt the world tilt off its axis when the woman beside him grabbed his arm and whispered, "Please, the baby is coming." For a moment, the noise of the subway vanished to Siguaro. The metallic smell, the chatter, the rush hour impatience, all of it dissolved into the raw panic in her eyes. Ethan wasn't a doctor. He wasn't even supposed to be here. He was just a single dad trying to get home before his son fell asleep without him again. And yet, in that suspended breath of time, he understood one thing with startling clarity. Whatever happened next would change his life forever. Ethan had learned to live with pressure. 3 years earlier, his wife, Laura, had died suddenly from an undiagnosed heart condition, leaving him alone with a 6-year-old boy and a mountain of responsibilities he hadn't asked for but accepted anyway. Every morning was a race against time, packing lunches, tying shoelaces, rushing to his construction job, then sprinting back across the city to pick up Noah from his after-school program. The subway was his lifeline, his daily tunnel between survival and exhaustion. That evening, the train was overcrowded, people packed shoulder to shoulder, impatience thick in the air. Ethan stood gripping the pole with one hand, scrolling through a message from Noah's teacher on his phone, when he noticed the woman beside him. She was pale, her dark hair damp with sweat, one hand pressed firmly against her belly. At first, he assumed she was just uncomfortable, another commuter struggling through a long day. Then she gasped, sharply, and her knees buckled. Ethan reacted without thinking. He slipped an arm around her shoulders, steadying her as the train lurched again. "Hey," he said gently, "are you okay?" Her answer was a strangled cry. "Oh God, I think I'm in labor." The words hit him like a physical blow. Labor. On the subway. Ethan's mind scrambled for logic, for protocol, for someone else. Anyone else, more qualified to handle this. Around them, commuters stared, some stepping back, others craning their necks with morbid curiosity. "We need help," Ethan called out. "But is there a doctor here?" Silence answered him. A man in a suit shook his head. A woman clutched her purse tighter and turned away. The train slowed again, then stopped, lights dimming further. An announcement crackled overhead, distorted and useless. Delays, technical issues, no immediate assistance. The woman's grip tightened on Ethan's sleeve. "Please," she whispered. I can't do this alone." Ethan swallowed hard. He thought of Laura of the night she'd gone into labor with Noah. How terrified he'd been then too, pacing hospital floors, holding her hand while doctors took control. But there were no doctors here. Just him, a frightened woman, and a crowd of strangers. "My name's Ethan," he said, forcing calm into his voice. "What's yours?" "A Claire," she breathed. "A Claire Bennett." "Okay, Claire," he said, kneeling down as carefully as he could in the cramped space. "Listen to me. We're going to get through this. I'm right here." Someone finally moved, a middle-aged woman who said she'd had 3 kids, offering what little advice she could. Another passenger took off his jacket to give Claire some privacy. The train remained stalled, time stretching unbearably thin. Claire cried out again, louder this time, pain ripping through her in waves. Ethan felt fear claw at his chest, but beneath it was something steadier, stronger, the same instinct that had carried him through sleepless nights with a newborn, through grief that threatened to crush him. "Protect, help, don't run, or breathe with me," he told her. "In, out, you're doing great." She looked at him with disbelief and desperation. "You don't understand," she said between breaths. My husband, he's supposed to be here. He's never late." This was the man Claire had called a very important. "I had no idea," Ethan said quietly. Claire smiled tiredly. "That's probably why you were perfect." Over the next few days, their lives brushed against each other again and again. Marcus insisted on staying in touch, on helping Ethan in any way he could. Ethan resisted at first, pride warring with necessity. He didn't want charity. He didn't want his moment of courage turned into a transaction, but Marcus was persistent and sincere. When he learned about Laura, about Noah, about the relentless grind of single parenthood, something shifted. Something shifted. "You saved my wife and my child," Marcus said one evening, sitting across from Ethan in the hospital cafeteria. "Let me help you, not as a CEO, as a father." Ethan struggled with the decision. He feared dependency, feared losing the fragile independence he'd built, but he also thought of Noah, of missed moments, of dreams deferred because survival came first. In the end, he accepted a job offer from Marcus's company. Not a handout, but a real position, one that valued his skills and offered flexibility. It wasn't an instant miracle, but it was a lifeline. Months passed. Life settled into a new rhythm. Ethan spent more evenings at home, more weekends at the park. Noah laughed more. The weight on Ethan's chest eased just a little. On the baby's first birthday, Ethan stood in the Bennett's sunlit garden, watching Claire cradle her daughter while Marcus grilled nearby. The subway felt like a lifetime ago, yet its echo lived on in every quiet, grateful moment since. Claire joined him, her daughter gurgling happily. "You know," she said, people still ask me how I stayed so calm that day." Ethan smiled faintly. "How did you?" She looked at him, eyes shining. Because a stranger chose kindness over fear, Ethan thought of the train, the panic, the impossible choice to stay when he could have walked away. He thought of how close he'd come to missing that moment and everything that followed. Sometimes life didn't change with grand plans or perfect timing. Sometimes it changed because someone ordinary decided to be brave for a few extraordinary minutes. And that, Ethan realized, was enough to alter the course of many lives, his included.